Hi everyone, my name is Puneet and welcome to the brand new interview series presented by the Consulting and Strategy Club, IMI New Delhi, Campus to Corporate, which would enable seamless transition from a campus life to corporate life. For the very first episode, we have with us Ms. Meera Sanghvi. Ma'am has more than 19 years of work experience in different roles. She's currently the lead Robotics Process Automation at HP. Before that, she has worked as a strategy manager and chief of staff, finance and accounting. Diversifying her roles, ma'am has also worked as an operation manager at Accenture and started her career with Genpact as a process specialist. Ma'am, it is a matter of extreme honor for us to have you here with us. Without any further delay, I would request you to address our viewers.
Thank you so much, Puneet, for that humbling interview. I am absolutely pleased to be here with you and share this space with you. I am happy to share my experience, my work, my personal learnings, and the difficulties that I faced over my career with all of you, because I think that's going to give me, an opportunity to learn both ways. So I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much again for having me here. So here I have put together something that I believe is something that I consider as considerations, as point of views, as learnings from my own career. And I think I wanted to put it together and sum it up in like a slide. So without further delay, let me just go on to it. What I believe as leaders, what is really important for us, and I think it applies to everybody, personally and professionally, which means that it's not necessary that only when you're looking at a leadership role you consider this, but this is something that you should consider irrespective of how you can look at your current work focus, so the work that you get into, the area that you have been hired for, or the area, for example, that you're working into, whether it's your own business, whether it's even at your home front or anywhere. If you look at, you have to focus first on that front. If you don't have the focus in your current role, in your current work that has been assigned to you, I think taking the next steps is going to be pretty bleaky because the foundation is not strong enough. But I think here we're going to talk about how do we do other things to add to it, right? How do we make ourselves heard? How do we make ourselves enriched by our own experiences? And how do we make ourselves, our presence felt in the world? And I think for that, you need to look at how do you contribute now to your, say, college, to your organization. In my case, I work with HP. So I keep thinking about how do I contribute to my organization? It could be any initiative. It could be an initiative where, say, the leader suddenly wants you to participate in something. Sometimes it could just be a peer coming in, and sometimes it could be just a team member who's approached you. And no work, when I say contributing to the organization, can be small because it is something you're doing your work, which you're getting paid for. But if you're doing something for the organization where it stands out and makes your organization slight bit better, remember the rewards are going to come back to us because we are employees of that organization. So if the employee does well, the organization does well, the employee does well, and it's the other way around as well. The third that I would go into is the contributing to your industry. I think it's our responsibility to kind of go out there and be heard. And when I say be out there and be heard, it's a global Gyan statement, but sometimes it's difficult. How do you venture out? What do you do? Should I start with blogging? Should I start, say, putting articles on my LinkedIn? Should I start, say, making, say, social media, brochures, or, just Comic strips, there are times that me and my colleague, while having a chai at office, this was pre-COVID, would just talk about how we should just come up with a comic strip to describe what we do in our world, because people do not understand what we do. So sometimes we thought it will be a great thing for us to kind of let everybody know in a comical way what do we do, and add sense of humor to it, so it is easy to remember, because we all remember comic strips from our childhood. But I do things which are, I'm not good with my sense of humor. Let me accept that. I think I can do more with speaking. I can do more with white papering. I can do a bit of blogging. And this is something that I'm more comfortable with, more behind the scenes than being out there to like, do something else. This is a space I am so far comfortable with. Over the years, maybe it will change. Contributing to the world, I think this is a touch that will finesse, that will add you to your personal satisfaction. There is a joy of helping others. There is a joy when you support others. And I think that's enriching as a human being, period. So I believe this is what makes people a rounded leader. And with that, I'll take a pause, Puneet, if you have any questions.
Thank you, ma'am, for such invaluable insights. I completely agree that one should stand out of the crowd to get themselves heard. And it is really important not just to work on yourself, but work towards society as well. So, moving on, first of all, I would like to understand, since you have worked as a strategy manager for more than 5 years, what is the thought process of a strategy manager during crisis? What are the key attributes which, as per your experience, play a dominant role in making of an appropriate strategist, be it any industry?
I think strategy is a term that we very loosely use. And I think that's because we're very, it's a term that everybody can coin very easily, saying, hey, think a little more strategically, be a bit more strategic in your approach. It's the easy, loose term. But the reality is, we are more tactical than we would like to believe. Because from our childhood, I don't think our questions have been, where do you see yourself 10 years from now? Where do you, it's always about what you'll become and what you want to do now. There's nothing in between. And strategy is about filling even those gaps. It's about, say, hey, here's my goal to say becoming a doctor. What am I going to do for it in the next 5 years? What am I going to do for it in the next 10 years? What will I do for it in the next 15 years? That is an extremely important aspect, and kind of correlating that to becoming strategist in an organization, it's a very similar thing. You jot down to what the organization goals are, and you kind of understand the organization goals, and you break it down to your organization, so that you're not mismatched, you're not trying to do something that the organization is not even focusing on. Every organization has those 5 key priorities, and every school, every college has these priorities that they're focusing on. And I think it's important that when we choose, like for example, schools and colleges for our children, we keep those priorities in mind. And I'm going to keep taking examples from schools and colleges because each one of you can correlate. Similarly, in an organization, it's important for us to understand what that key priority is, correlate to it, bring it down, at the same, drive it down to up, which means it's a tops down and a bottoms up approach. Let me break it down a little more. People and in organizations, you will see an annual goal, which means every year, based on the fiscal year that every organization follows. Like in my case, it's from November to October. So we follow the US fiscal year. And we've just kicked in to the FY21. We have new set of goals that are getting devised for the organization. Similarly, organization next level, then the next level, then the next level. Everybody will, till the bottom, everybody is going to start putting in what do they want to do for it, the FY21. Like a lot of people would consider that strategic, but in my mind, it's still tactical because it's only for this year and it's about what you're going to make an impact in this year. Does this connect to your long-term goals? And think about it in this way, like an organization like HP, if it wanted to get into 3D printing, does an annual goal alone help? It helps, but does it only help? Not really. You need to come up with a vision for the next 5 years. This is what I'm going to focus on. If it means for the next 3 years, I'm only going to be sitting out of a lab, I will have no results coming out. I'm okay with it. I'm willing to live with it. But what progress have I made to the lab? Which means every year you'll have a certain, key responsibilities, which are called KRAs in a corporate world. You kind of break it down and you say, this is what I'm going to achieve in year one. This are the list of 2 things that I'm going to achieve in year two, 3 things for year three, and so on and so forth. But the idea is by year fifth, you should have either achieved your goal already or you should have been very well established on achieving that goal in that year. But they cannot be like, all right, let's the 5-year plan become a 10-year plan because I didn't achieve my first year goal. I got, focused on something else because this was a long-term plan. It felt like a lot. But that doesn't work. So I think it's important to realize that and never to lose focus. And as being a part of the strategy manager, that was one of the key things that I had to keep doing. Even though we would have like a firefighting that will happen, and most of us do get caught in firefights. Like right now, COVID is a firefight, right? A lot of organizations are firefighting how to handle COVID, how to handle employees, the morale, and everything. But nobody can forget their own goals, because if they do, then something else has taken over, and which means that they will be obsolete in no time. And I think that's where I would kind of put it together.
Indeed, ma'am. I think we would try to incorporate the thought process required to face the challenges that we are going to face in our careers, and we are sure that we are definitely going to handle our challenges with utmost focus to drive to success. Also, as a student, we all are worried about the journey ahead, the challenges that we are going to face, and we're worried about our careers. So, coming to undergrad and postgrad students, how should a student who's just starting his journey prepare himself before entering the corporate world? Is there an itinerary that individual should follow?
I wish there was one, and I wish we had sessions like this when I was in college, because the life that we go through studying, and I think you guys would see some examples of it, like through your internship, through your discussions with your parents, through your, say, whatever little summer jobs that you would have taken up. Like in my case, I took it up when I was in my single digit age, and I used to just do door to door marketing. So there was a lot learning. Like math was a real life skill. Like, all right, I have to give them back 10 rupees, which means I have to deduct 2 rupees. I have to come up with this. So there was a math was a real life skill. Similarly, in a lot of cases, you will realize that some things that we learn in our school, in our college, does come to perspective in a very, very different light. That means that you're not going to see those abacuses in front of you. That means that you're not going to see all those fingers that are there in front of you. When my child, a 7-year-old child, is learning math, she has all these options of choosing and then deducting from 10 minus 2, and it becomes easy. Life becomes easy for her. But the reality is, as we know, we are out there when we're making a purchase. It's instant. You have to do this immediately. That's just one tiny little example. And what you learn when you open an Excel sheet in the first time in your life in a corporate world, the sum of formula exists there predefined, which means that you not really have to mug it up. You just needed to know how to apply it. The application, and that is where I will emphasize for each one of you. If you can understand the application somewhere, just, explore it in your head sometimes. Similarly, when I did my graduation, and things that I learned, these big theorems and big, proving them right, proving them wrong. I think in a way, some things that I derive from that is I learned how to be a person who can debate out a point of view, and not everything is always right when it's being presented to us. So we have to prove it wrong with a proper proofing, with a proper justification, with a proper, backups. But beyond that, we need to kind of think of applications, and everything that we learn, whether it's, a subject, whether it's a skill. I think the application, if we can try and do that, I think our transition from, say, campus to corporate will be a far lesser intensifying journey than it is. And I think it's just because there's a certain education system, and I think this is a debate topic around the world. How do you make education more application based, not so much about, all right, you have to learn this, you have to go through this. I think that's a question that goes back to the education, that goes back to the in the country we are from, the multiple things, and not everywhere around the world application is the first thing that they learn. But make the most out of your internship, make the most out of those summer jobs, make the most out of those opportunities that you get to kind of see a reflection or a glimpse of organizations. Because when you see a big organization, you say, do I like this culture? Do I want to see myself here? It's a good glimpse. Instead of just saying, oh, I want to work for a giant, I want to work for a Fortune 500. Instead of that, then you'll be able to think when you work for a smaller startup, you'll be like, oh, I like this because my voice is heard. I feel like I'm making a difference. All these little opportunities that you're already getting them, grab them with both your hands. And if you're not getting them, create somewhere whenever you have your breaks, whenever you have the opportunity of anybody in your family, friends, circle, where you can take up that opportunity of working somewhere, take it up. Even if it's a free job, even if it means you have to take out some extra hours, you will kind of see a glimpse. You'll kind of see like, what is it to be out there? What is it if I were to step into that job? What would it feel like? And I would say focus on your strengths. I mean, weaknesses will, I mean, exist with everybody, but focus on your strengths. And that I think will take you class apart.
Definitely, ma'am. I completely agree that application is very, very crucial, especially for students like us. And we need to find application in whatever we study. And I hope that we all are able to make the best use of the opportunity we get in future. Finally, I would like to ask for our financial managers that being the chief of staff in finance for a giant tech company like HP, what were the key challenges that you faced in your journey? And how does financial planning on paper differ from the practical world? Basically, what is the ideology behind the best financial plan?
Okay. I think when I did that role, that was like my comeback in HP because I'd taken a break and I joined Accenture and I came back to HP. I got this opportunity to be the chief of staff, and I did multiple things under that, which was communication, employee engagement, financial planning. So which means that I would look at the forecast versus actual. I would look at where we are, what are we doing. And back then, about less than 10 years ago, the preparing this on a quarterly basis, monthly basis rather, would be easily a 2 day effort. The 2 day effort when I talk about is because it would be like series of Excel sheets. You would be like trying to make sense out of it. You would receive this numbers and numbers and numbers, and you would kind of try to, draw conclusions from it, try to see where things are missing, why is it missing, what happened. So you will kind of tally things up, and then you will present it finally in a form of a PPT. From there to today, the journey has been very, very different. There is the whole option of visualization. There are visualization tools available. There are data analytics tool available there. So what happens is, based on the data size, based on what kind of cuts you want, what kind of questions usually you preempt from your leadership team, you kind of prepare things well in advance. And now it's a matter of minutes. Sometimes it's real time. And that's how simplified version it has become. So my message to a lot of people would be that, certain tools that might even exist today, by the time you hit the corporate world, because the evolution is only getting faster and faster. So which means by the time you hit, your journey into the corporate world and you start doing financial planning for someone, you're going to see that the tools have changed drastically. So the advice that I give you today may not even hold good, say 3 years from now, because there could be a very different looking future out there for data, for numbers. And financial planning is a very different ball game when you're not focusing just on the actual calculation of numbers, and you're actually going more into, all right, so where did we spend more, where did we undercut, what happened? Because for us, we were allowed to make a marginal error. Like if there was $100 given as a budget, you're not allowed to go below 97, you're not allowed to go beyond 102, which means you had a plus of 2 minus of 3. That's it. That was a 5% leeway. You're not allowed to be even lesser, which means that if you go and say, hey, I just used my $90, doesn't work. That means your planning was way off, which means you did a bad job of planning. So you kind of start focusing on how do you be a better planner and how do you come up with, you have this earlier, we never used to have series of historical data to look at easily available to make predictions of what the future is going to look. We had to do this manually, like, oh, the graph is going this way, maybe the graph is going to continue to grow this way. Those were graphical ways to look at it. But today you can look historical data, predictions can come in, and modeling can come in through that, right? So which becomes, as a financial planner, as a person who's going to play say a chief of staff from one of you guys in the future, this is something that you will see that a lot of it for you, your team that you work with is available very, very easily. What you will need to focus on then and divert your energy in is how do you make that model more accurate? How do you make that whole prediction work for you in a better way? How do you then preempt the kind of things that are coming or things that are missing out, which means that if some teams are going off, why are they going off? Go and have those conversations with them. Your job will then become more of having that relationship managers, becoming that change catalyst, because you're going there and having a conversation. A financial person is not necessarily the person who will go and have conversation. Is a person who's like more glued in. Our vision of a financial planner is always like sitting down and writing things. That is going to change. So which means you will not only have to be good at your financial skills, you will have to be good at multiple of other things as well, because you'll need to make those conversations, try to understand what it is, why certain teams do certain ways, why do they behave. Data will tell you something, but you will still need to have that conversation. So you'll still need to go and understand, do your own research, do your own bit of understanding. And I think that is where I would say you need to kind of focus on multitude of skills, and not just while you'll have a niche, like I mentioned, you will either go further deep in it, plus you will need to have multitude of skills, because what will be the one thing that will separate you from somebody, say, who is similarly skilled as you and somebody else who's out there doing your job with you? So why would somebody choose you? Because you're good at, say, relationship building, or say you're a great change. I realize I got muted. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I got muted. I don't know why. So which is where I'm getting at. There will be a lot more softer skills also needed. There will be a lot more hard skills needed. There will be business acumen needed, that you need to understand the business that you are in, whether it's pharma, whether it's understanding what goes into research. There will be a lot of things, and you'll kind of have to focus on that as well.
Definitely, ma'am. Even in my opinion, technology has a massive role in a lot of sectors. Even today, we have a lot of data, and to present that data, we need technology. We have a lot of tools which can present the data very, very accurately, and like data visualization tools. That was really insightful, ma'am, and that would be really helpful for all of us for a long, long time to come. Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out time from your busy schedule. It was definitely enriching listening to you for us and our viewers.
Thank you so much, Puneet, for having me. If there is anything at all, any follow-ups, any questions, any clarifications, I'm more than happy to help you guys out with. And I hope my experience in some way can help a few of you. So thank you so much for that.
Definitely, ma'am. I would also like to thank our viewers for being such dedicated and diligent listeners. Hope to see you in the next episode. Till then, stay safe and stay healthy.